Well, for more on this story, let's bring in Heather Kerr, Country Director for Congo at the International Rescue Committee. Heather, thanks so much for being with us on the programme this evening. You have spent a long time working in the DRC yourself. Now, nearly 3 months into this outbreak, why do you think health workers are still struggling to get to grips with the crisis? It's obviously a very difficult situation, as we saw in that report, for people who are working with the unwell in Congo.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. It is now the largest outbreak on record in DRC. As your correspondent mentioned, we're nearly at 4,000 cases, and that is equaling the outbreak in 2018. And the thing about this outbreak is it's really not under control, and it hasn't been under control since the beginning. And this is making it very difficult. And the reason for that is it was declared on the 15th of May, but actually it started much earlier than that. And according to a couple of reports I've seen recently, people are saying that the actual index case goes as far back as February. So the outbreak was there and raging through the community, if you like, and nobody knew. People were getting sick, people were presenting in the health centres, and Ebola has very similar symptoms to malaria to begin with. And then people realised it looked like Ebola, but they were testing for the Zaire strain, and this is the Bundibugyo strain. So it just took a long while for people to catch up and realise what they were dealing with, and we simply haven't caught up. There's so many people working in the response, doing a great job, but we've got to do more. And we're seeing nearly 100 cases nearly every day, and this means the Ebola treatment centres are filling up, and then the suspect cases need to be in isolation. So we're in danger of running out of beds in the treatment centres. I'm sure we'll create more, but it's an outbreak unlike any other. I'm currently in Bunia, in Italy, which is the epicenter of the outbreak. And it's quite strange when you walk around the town because you wouldn't really think there was an outbreak. People are still going to nightclubs, and there are still large gatherings, and there's not enough communication around the town. I'd want to see, banderoles, as we call them in French, everywhere, and posters beside the road and everything. They're beginning to come, but there needs to be much more out there about Ebola. And then I think the crux of getting it sorted is really the work we do with community engagement. There are many organisations working on it. It's how we gain the trust of the community, because it's only with the community that we'll fight this outbreak. So that's beginning to happen as we all work with church leaders and young leaders and women and church leaders to get their help and get them engaged with their communities, so that they spread the messages and explain what Ebola is and where to go if you feel ill and everything, because it will only work if it comes from the community. So community engagement is absolutely essential in this response.
And Heather, I know this is something you have spoken about before. Is a lack of trust then in the humanitarian community still an issue? Have your aid workers been able to build that kind of trust that you're referring to there?
We're building it slowly, but it is very slow. There are still people out there who don't believe Ebola exists, and they won't go to treatment centres or the local hospital even. They'll go to traditional healers, or they'll just stay at home, which is absolutely not the right thing to do. I mean, I know people. I was talking to one of our staff members when I arrived, and he told me that 4 members of his family died of Ebola within about 5 days of each other. So it's but he says he wants now to really speak out and tell people about Ebola, and that's real. So that's what we need. We need people who've experienced it either firsthand or through their families. Or there are a lot of people are actually recovering in this outbreak, which is one of the positive things. So if those people are willing to speak out, then that's great, because they can say that they did actually get treated and they recovered, and here I am. So I think that so the trust is being built, but it's slow, but it's an absolutely essential part of what we're all doing.
And you are, of course, also in an active conflict zone. What kind of an impact, if you've seen any, Heather, is the strike by frontline workers having on the outbreak? We saw one man in our report there. Their concerns, are they likely to be addressed?
Well, I mean, it's one of the biggest things that we're addressing is the payment of health workers. It's a big issue, and it's being looked into, but it's obviously critical, because the work what they're doing is dangerous, and everybody deserves to be paid for the work that they do. I mean, we've seen less of the violence we saw in the beginning when people came in and set fire to the treatment centres, to the tents that people being treated in. People were killed. We saw a lot of violence around the burials. Now this seems to have subsided somewhat. So I hope that continues. But another thing that's difficult with this outbreak is that there's active conflict going on, and we've got all sorts of different armed groups in Ituri. We recently saw conflict and the armed groups coming in to a hospital, and people were killed and their general was killed. So it slowed down the response completely. Nobody could go and do any work there. I mean, that's been sorted out. The right people intervened, and things got sorted. But the fact that there's active conflict and so many armed groups is not helping. And then you've got people in displaced camps as well, who fled conflict in different parts of Ituri. And it's very hard to get in and work in the camps. And people are dying in the camps, but we don't know what they're dying of. So that's another very worrying aspect.
Heather, we're going to have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for being with us on the programme and for explaining the situation to us so eloquently there. Do take care of yourself as well. That is Heather Kerr, Country Director for Congo at the International Rescue Committee. Well, that is it from us for now. Do stay with us, though, for more world news on France 24.